Welcome to the Suicide Prevention Show, where we are on a mission. We're on a mission to make suicide, especially teen suicide, a thing of the past. And to help us with our mission, we are super excited to welcome Robin O'Donovan to the show. Now, Robin is going to be talking to us about one of those things that we don't like to talk about: overwhelm. So if you have ever been overwhelmed, please go to the chat box and type in me, and we'll know that we are in the right place, bringing you the right information. And without further ado, I will turn my camera. There we go. There I am. Okay. Yeah, I see it's popping in there. Me. All right. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome into the studio Robin O'Donovan. So Robin, would you please unmute and turn your camera on and join? There you are. Woohoo!
Hi, Jackie.
Oh, look at that. That looks like almost an antique phone at first, but that's an amazing microphone. I've got microphone envy. Oh my. Okay.
That's the podcasting mic and my vocal mic.
Cool. All right. So Robin, thank you for being willing to come on the show and have this conversation.
Thank you so much, Jackie. I'm so excited to be here. And you and I have had some really amazing conversations as well. So it's a privilege.
It's one of the things that is so fun about this new world is that we are having more and more conversations. We can have conversations with people all over the world. And for people who have a marketing ear, they've gone into how do I get my message in the world in a bigger way? They might want to pay attention because you have just gone through a podcast launching process that is just such an amazing thing. And I'm going to just say, and thank you for allowing me to be part of that and being a guest on your podcast. That was just a lovely experience.
Thank you. Same here. Yes, I was honored. Thank you.
So please, let's see if we can turn up your volume just a little bit. So Robin, now that you are here and we get to talk, this is a topic, as you know, near and dear to my heart. You know that I am not the cookie cutter approach to anything, and especially not suicide prevention. The cookie cutter approaches almost cost me my daughter. So I believe that no holds barred, let's have fun, let's make this rock. And you're going to talk about the one thing that keeps me from feeling like I'm rocking, which is overwhelm.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
I'm going to call you out. What makes you a qualified expert on overwhelm?
Thank you for asking. All right. So like any qualified expert, I have been there. I have so been there, and I've been there for years, feeling that overwhelm, not just as an adult, as a teen. I still remember. I remember crying, being like literally having what we would call back then a nervous breakdown. I don't know if we even still use that term anymore, but in high school, I was enrolled in honors classes, and I was, studying the piano. I was practicing 3 hours a day and practicing for, recitals and competitions. And I was editor of the yearbook. And like on the surface, it looked like I was this person that had all these gifts and talents, which I did, but, had all this stuff together, had it together. And honestly, at night, I was crying. I was so overwhelmed with the feeling of like having to live up to all these expectations, the feeling of trying to be somebody that everybody expected me to be. And I never, ever got the chance or gave myself the chance as a teen. I'll say rarely, because I want to come to that in a bit of how I did kind of get over this. But I rarely gave myself the chance to just be quiet and look inward and understand who I really am, aside from all of this noise, aside from all of this stuff, aside from all the stuff that I was doing. And I don't want to minimize, the love of my parents, that they gave me so many amazing opportunities. Like that's, to this day, I'm still grateful for that, because I definitely don't think I would be, the polished, poised, professional, intelligent thinking person that I am completely if they hadn't given me all those opportunities. But I definitely can relate to that feeling of like trying to do it all, wanting to do it all, and just feeling like everything's crashing in on my head sometimes because I just can't handle it all. So that's where, as far as having been there, that's a
Mhm.
little glimpse into that. And definitely
I'm going to
today, I
pause
want to
you.
share a bit about how I
Yeah,
have overcome that.
I'm going to pause you. You can share how you overcame that in just a second, because what you just said, I think, is worth highlighting. And what I heard you say is that opportunity can lead to overwhelm. And we always think that opportunity is a good thing. It's good to have opportunities.
Right.
And when they start sliding into overwhelm, I mean, it's good to have a lot of talents. You have a lot of talents. I mean, you write, you sing, you write songs, you customize things. I mean, is it harder for someone who's really talented to stay out of overwhelm?
That's a great question. I think it's probably equally difficult for everyone because we get overwhelmed for different reasons. But to address the type of situation you're talking about, yes. So for the multi-potentiates, all right, the people who just feel that they have, so many talents in so many areas and they don't want to let any of them go and they want to work on all of them, and that's definitely me. Um, yes, everything can seem like a shiny penny. And it can take time to learn. And I hope this can be an illumination for people today. Just learn it today. You don't have to pick up every shiny penny.
There we go. It's okay to let an opportunity go to someone else.
Yes, yes. And something that I always love to speak about is abundance. Like there's going to be, first of all, don't get FOMO. There's going to be plenty more shiny pennies for you. But yes, imagine that shiny penny. If you already feel that your bucket is full right now, like leave it for someone else. Like there's just so much in the world for everybody.
Okay, I'm dropping in the chat. I'd love to know what people heard, if there's something they heard about what FOMO is. If you know what FOMO is, go ahead and answer it in the chat. Because whenever we go into using acronyms, I'm like, I wonder what other people are thinking. So go to the chat box, give us your definition of FOMO. I spelled it for you, just in case you didn't catch it. So go there. And we will have a discussion. We'll see what comes up. But anyway, sorry. Thank you for, yeah, I've got people going FOMO with a question mark. So let's break it down for
Okay.
them. That what you're talking about is what could drive someone to pick up a shiny penny, to say yes to an opportunity when their plate is already full,
Right.
to stay up late to attend yet another Zoom meeting because
Yeah.
we can.
Yes.
What is it? What is FOMO? What's driving that behavior?
So FOMO in the sense of like it stands for fear of missing out. All right. So first of all, where do I even start with this? um, I don't want anyone to live by fear. That's like one of my main messages today. There's no need to live by fear. All right. We want to live by love. And I can talk more about that. But when we live by fear, we are projecting outside of ourselves. We're saying our happiness, our joy, our balance, our equilibrium is affected or located by something outside of us.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just not true. Okay, so when we have a fear of missing out, then and I know for young people it can be a fear of like I didn't go to that party, so I'm missing out like being in with the crowd or whatever, like,
Oh,
or
that's big.
I didn't pick up that opportunity, so I'm missing out on like pumping up my resume for some future opportunity, or I didn't get the internship, so I'm missing out on going somewhere. Like, here's what I've learned: life is so long. People are used to saying life is short, but I want to put it in a new perspective. Life is actually so many milliseconds, and we have an opportunity every millisecond to live from within ourselves. All right. If we're trying to grab every opportunity out there, we're robbing ourselves, we're robbing our inner selves of the chance to just just be in love. And I know this might sound kind of woo woo, so I want to get into it more if we have time, but don't worry about missed opportunities. There will always be another one. There will always be another one. You are amazing. You are talented. Whether you feel like you are, the word I used earlier is multi-potentiate, which means somebody who, who would label themselves as having like talents in many fields. We all have that. Even if you don't feel that you do or label yourself that way, we all have those talents. They might just be latent. They might just be hidden, and you might not have discovered them or them all yet. But there's so much opportunity for you. There's so much joy. There's so much love out there. And I'll stop talking now and leave it at that for the moment.
We're going to have to just give you a title of you are like the greatest encourager. Yeah. So we'll just make, I don't know if there is such a thing, but your classification for professionals is you are a professional encourager of
Thank
people
you.
to live into experiencing themselves as having multiple potentials.
Yes.
And then to explore those in a way that doesn't lead to them trying to develop them all at the same time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Trying to do it all at the same time is kind of my definition of overwhelm. So,
yes. And I've so been there. Yeah.
Cool. All right. So what I know is that we're going to be deep diving into this. And so the ability to help people stay out of overwhelm. So one of the things that gets us into overwhelm is FOMO. What's another thing that gets us into overwhelm?
So I'll dive into like, like what more into this sense of fear. All right. So when we're living in fear, which is a conditioned response, okay, and I don't judge anyone for their thoughts or the way they live. I'm here to just be a guide for maybe a better way. And so my guidance is to teach a little bit about self-love. So the way that we can avoid overwhelm is first to just go inside and see the amazingness of who we are. Who we are without any label, without any role. Okay, so like you're not just a daughter or a son or a sister or a brother or a student or or speaking to adults, you're not just a mother, a father, an aunt, uncle, a co-worker. You're not just a business person. Like you are so much more than that. Those are just temporary labels for this life. You are your soul. You are an essence that has, I believe, existed for a long time. And you're in this body now, you're in this form now, and blessed to be on this planet now with all these other people now. And how can you understand yourself so that you can express yourself to others in a way that's authentic and true? So that begins with self-love. So self-love means, it doesn't mean we are, a lot of people think self-love, oh, that's so vain. It means, oh, I go and I love myself. I'm so awesome. Like, I invite you to love yourself and know that you're awesome. You are so awesome. Oh my gosh, look in the mirror. Look at you. You are gorgeous. You're beautiful. Look into your eyes. Like, that's your soul. You are amazing. And you are here to do amazing things. So just be quiet and listen. That's how it starts. Be quiet and listen inside yourself. Take time out in nature. That's what I ended up doing as a kid. I was very fortunate to grow up in a really wooded neighborhood. And I would often, when things got too much, I would just get on my bike and I would just ride out to the river or to this cliff in the woods and just whatever. Like there were several places I would go. And just to get out of the busy world, and just that allowed me to hear the inner voices in myself that were saying, you are love. You deserve more. You deserve this. Oh my gosh. So I want to stick to my points that I want to cover and not get like too deep because I know people are like, what? So also one thing that you can do to really pursue self-love is to seek how to heal yourself. And when I say heal yourself, no matter what age you are, we've come into this world as our perfect divine soul. And along the way, no matter how loving and amazing and well-meaning our parents, our guardians, our guides, our teachers, no matter how well-meaning, we all got conditioned into things that go against our soul.
Mm.
And I'm just going to throw out there that that is a reason that you're feeling so much conflict right now is you are not in alignment with who you really are. Okay? Who you are is love, is beautiful. And you are not enough. You're never not enough. So anybody or anything that's making you feel that way, we have to let that go. All right, no matter who that is, they meant well. They meant well when they said it. It may have come out differently. Just let it go. Don't worry about who said it. Don't worry about any of that. You are enough. Just know that.
Got
So,
it.
and
All
Jackie,
right.
stop
Well,
me anytime if you.
you made me relax. I mean, it was just like, oh, now I'm out of overwhelm. Okay. All right. So we talked about there were four very specific things. Now, I don't want anybody to get confused, so I'm going to name an elephant in the room. All right. We're going to talk about four very specific things, and then you have a gift that is about seven. So I don't want people to think that you didn't talk about all seven. That's because we're not talking about what's in the gift, but we're going to relate the gift back to what the four things we're talking about. So I just wanted to make sure people knew. Yeah, because I know numbers can do that in my brain. Wait a minute, the numbers don't match. We were having this discussion earlier about the numbers not matching. So let's take them into the core four, the things that you really know that can help people avoid that whole land of overwhelm.
Yeah, yeah. So it's dropping into self-love, okay? It's seeking to heal yourself, okay? That's the second thing I was just mentioning, which is you may need some help for. That's the punchline to that one. You may definitely I've gotten help with that over the years through therapy, through guides, through personal coaching, through books, through videos, okay? There's a lot out there. The third thing to avoid overwhelm, all right, is to just have the grace and the courage to be yourself. All right. So once you go inside and you heal some of that and you start to really intuitively understand who you really are, just have the grace to let that shine out. All right. And I know that a lot of young people, myself included, when I was a teen, when I was in my 20s, I was really afraid to do that. I thought I'm weird. I don't feel like everybody else. And like to look at me today, like, okay, I'm dressed nice and I have, this, I look professional, whatever. I was a total weirdo in high school, you guys. I just want to like let you know that. Like I was
Right.
not,
So those of us that
I did all
were
this cool stuff, but
not normal, we were,
yeah, yeah,
wait a minute, hold it. If there was anybody on this call who was normal in high school, who didn't feel like you were outside of that,
yeah.
you can put me in the chat box. And actually, I don't, well, we'll see. We may have some people.
I think some people did. I know people to this day, high school friends that I think they really did have it all together and they still do. And they were more evolved.
That doesn't mean that they feel that way.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's true. But
yeah. I mean, because we compare our insides, how we feel inside, to what other people present outside.
Yeah.
And that's not apples and apples.
Yeah.
I love that.
No.
So we've got cover, me, but no longer. We get that. Yeah.
Right. So be authentic, like just step into yourself. And, it doesn't mean you have to just go get purple hair and, wear,
Yeah, because purple hair
things that
might
are
not
off
be
the
you.
charts,
That
but
might be what your friend is doing.
yeah. But if it's you, do it.
There we go.
And do it with love. And because I'm going to tell you this, if you're doing it in rebellion, if you're doing it in, rebellion is fine too, but if you're doing it in fear, in anger, if you're doing it just to fit in, here's what's going to happen with that. It's not going to come across. Your parents are going to be the first ones to riff against that. Okay. To just, like sandpaper, they're going to scratch up against that. Your friends are going to just kind of be like, what? But if you go and be yourself, whoever that is, whatever that looks like outwardly, with total love and abandon, I guarantee you everyone, including your parents, will get on board with it. Trust me, they will. The parents and kids have this synergy where when they're in alignment, when one of them's in alignment, the other has the power to bring themselves into alignment. All right.
It opens
So
the door to that possibility.
trust me on that. Yeah, just go and be yourself, but do it totally with love. That's my third point. All right. And my fourth point, how to avoid overwhelm, is to surrender to your inner voice, your inner wisdom. Okay. Now, this is something I have to do all the time as a business person, as a music artist slash coach slash business person. You know, I'm still in that phase of like, I have all this stuff I want to do, and I have to sit down at least once a day and check into my inner wisdom and say, okay, what is the best way that I can serve today? Or what, it just depends on the question of the day. Or what is the best way that I can serve myself today? What is the best way that I can be at peace today? What is the best way that I can express myself today? Like the question can vary a little bit, but it's always about tuning into that inner wisdom. And every time I do, I get a really clear answer. And sometimes I feel, this is just me, this is my view of the world. Sometimes I feel the answers coming from my angel guides. Sometimes I feel the answers coming from God. Sometimes I feel the answers just coming from like the universe, the collective, oneness. Sometimes I feel it's coming from me, my soul. However, I believe all those things are essentially the same thing, but it's interesting how I can kind of feel the sources of it, but I always know the difference between that and my head. So we have this other voice inside of us. That's our ego. That's our mind. Okay. That's the one that's conditioned. That's what I was speaking of earlier, that everybody, all these outside influences have been conditioning us over time. You can't make money doing what you love. Don't be weird. Just fit in, conform, go be good, this kind of thing. And again, people meant well, but I want you to have the courage to listen to your own voice first, because I promise if you do, you'll still never be out of alignment with what people think is a good person. Like people meet me and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I love your energy. You're amazing. I want to work with you." And I'm like, I'm just over here being myself, just being in alignment. Like, I'm just pure love. And if you do that, you're going to resonate with everybody. There's nothing bad's going to come of doing that. Just trust your inner wisdom. Trust yourself.
Part of me says I could have titled this episode, The Courage to Get Out of Overwhelm.
Yes.
And so that's just a lovely, lovely place to be. So the courage comes from listening to your internal guidance system, whatever that sounds like.
Yeah.
But all right, is there like a checklist? I'm hearing a voice in my head. I'm outing myself here. I hear voices in my head. I don't know if anybody else does, but sometimes I do.
Yeah.
And is there like a checklist? Okay, is it the old Ella Fitzgerald commercial? Is it real or is it Memorex? Is this my internal emotional guidance system, or is this my mind?
That's such a great question. I'm so glad you're asking that, Jackie. And I'll be really honest. It's taken me a long time to make sure I know the difference. And even sometimes I get confused. But here's what I've learned. When you be quiet, it helps if you're out in nature or just sitting down or just really relax, take some deep breaths first, set yourself up for success. When you hear the voice, feel your body, okay? Feel like what is going on in your body, because you're going to feel maybe one of two things, either a relaxation, and I can only describe it as a total knowing. It's like your whole, it's like not just your mind and your heart, but your whole body just knows and just feels like, yes, yes. Or you might feel some, like a fire, in your belly, in your chest where your heart is, in your throat where your throat, your communication chakra is, or even in your head, like this is your third eye. I'm talking about chakras. You might even feel like the wisdom emanating out. Okay, that's also a sign. However, You just have to do it and do it and do it. Okay, you have to try this and learn the difference between feeling one of those things and feeling a pit in your stomach. So I have recognized the pit. When I get the pit in my stomach, I know something's wrong. I know I'm in conflict. Okay, that's where I feel I'm out of alignment. I'm out of balance, you know. And sometimes like my legs get really watery, you know, I feel weak, my back hurts. Like you'll know for you once you just try dropping into this self-love and listening to yourself and being very aware of what that feels like in your body, just keep trying it and you'll kind of come to know the difference. And you know, if you hear a voice and tells you go do something and you do something and it turns out horrible, let me also explain about that. Let me also
All
explain
right.
about that.
There we go.
You can look at it like this. You just feel back into it. Feel backwards into the timeline of what happened and be like, okay, the lesson I learned is I should have listened to the other voice because
And
there's always two.
maybe. And
Yeah.
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So and maybe. And
And
then
maybe
I know that you'd always have the maybe in there. So what's the maybe in this
the maybe.
Yeah, it might be that I should have, and you know how I am about that one.
Right. I don't
Listen to
like the
the
word
other
should.
voice.
Exactly. I don't like the word should either. There's no should, there's no need to. Um, yeah, I maybe could have listened to the other voice. I wonder what would have happened. Or you can simply go, wow, I'm so glad I listened to that particular voice in that particular instance. And it led me through this experience that taught me all this stuff. And now I'm here in this new place I wouldn't have been if I hadn't listened to that voice. And that's just opened up a whole nother opportunity for me to listen to the voice again. So you can give all this different meaning to it however you want to, but there's really no bad decisions. I'll just leave it at that.
That was so much fun. I was listening to your wonderful, wonderful, relaxing description of you know, going out into nature if possible, sitting and getting still, and all of this process of getting to know the voice. And I'm like, all right, I want to know how to get to the knowing and tell the knowing from the brain busyness
Yeah.
for busy people, because
Right.
carving out the time
Right.
to do that kind of a practice, I hear voices now. I want to fast track to telling them apart. What you
Right.
got?
Right. So glad you asked that. So I was just reading a book recently for like, I hadn't read it again in a while, Carrie Oberbrenner's The Deeper Path. And he talks about, do you remember, I don't know why the name eludes me because the famous story, you know, the pilot that ended up having to land the plane on the water right outside of Manhattan because the birds flew into the engines. Okay, this was like 2009 or something. So he had to make some split decisions very, very quickly. He had to drop into his heart and make some decisions very quickly in the moment. And he did, and everybody lived, and it was a wonderful, triumphant story, and they did a movie about it. But Carrie points out something really interesting, which is that pilot would never have been able to make those decisions literally on the fly and save all those lives if he had not taken the time to do the inner work before. And Carrie tells a little bit of background about that in that gentleman's life. And so I would invite you to make the time.
I'm going to call BS on this.
The moment's going to come.
I'm calling BS on this. Pause. Time. Here we go. That is such a guilt-producing injunction that pilot would not have been able to do that if he hadn't spent all of this time. That takes people into shame and should, and we don't know that it's true. We don't know that it's true that pilot would not have been able to make those decisions without doing that because there's no way to know. And so that one just hit me right. Like, wait a minute, I can't prove it. And so it's a really good theory, and it's meant to encourage people to go and spend the time. And it can take people to shouldville. Oh, I made a mistake. I should have been spending more time meditating. Yeah. And so it's like, that one didn't land really well. Sorry.
I hear you. I love that, Jackie. Thank you. And, you know, I never want to get into that, you know, I should have. Like, a past timeline is a past timeline. We're constantly creating our our future timelines at this point. But and that's just it. Like to say, I mean, okay, to your point, you're right. We don't have proof that timeline would have changed if he hadn't done that. But
And so what we're going to say is that we know, what do we know? We know that the more you know yourself, the more you can tell these voices apart, the easier you can make decisions. We know that. It's like
right,
more
right.
focus. And so for someone like me, what I'm asking for, and I get that I ask a lot from my speakers. Okay. I ask a lot from people who are willing to be interviewed by me. And I'm
It's
asking for
awesome.
me.
Yes.
So if other people don't need this, that's cool. But this is what I'm asking for.
Yeah.
What is it in the moment where I've got the thought, I've got the intuitive nudge in that moment? Is there a checklist? Is there something I can push against that's going to help me figure out, is this a voice is this my emotional guidance system, or is this just my brain being busy?
You can just, again, read your body and then go forward. So sometimes, to your point, we only have that moment. We only have, we're busy.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have time to like sit down and meditate on it. I totally get that.
Yeah.
You can push forward with literally your gut feeling. That's why they say, listen to your gut. Okay.
Okay.
And know that any decision you make is already, how do I say this? The timeline that you were born to carry out is already there. It's just a matter of, are you going to step into it? Are you going to thwart it until you have no choice but to step into it? So we're talking today about making decisions, from your gut, from your intuition. And I would like to put forth that it doesn't really matter as much as we think what decisions we make. It matters.
Oh
The
no, you
decision,
mean all the decisions I agonize over?
the decision is not what matters. The place it's coming from is what matters. Okay. Staying in alignment is what matters. And that's all that matters. Coming at things with love. All right. There's so many ways to get to this wonderful ideal world that we all want to live in. So many ways to live our lives. But if we're living it from love, we can't go wrong. That's just, at least want to leave people with that. So your checklist is, if you take time, if you don't have time to listen to your gut, make a decision, go forth with it with all your heart. All right. Throw your heart into it and know that it can't be wrong. That decision is going to, the outcome of that is going to take you someplace else. It's going to take you someplace else. I used to love those books when I was a kid, the Choose Your Own Adventure books. And I'm totally aging myself here, but
Choose your own
I'm a
adventure
child
book.
of the 80s. And I used to
Got it.
love those Choose Your Own Adventure books, which is like you read the first chapter and then it's like you get to this crazy decision. Do you want to go this door or that door? If you go this door, turn to page such and such. This door, turn to page so and so. And I love those books. They mess with you because like you read it through once and then you go back to the beginning and you take another path, another path, another path, and you go down the labyrinth all different ways till you've read the whole thing. And to me, that's how I learned early on that it's all going to be okay in the end. Your life
Oh,
is just
there
one
you
big long
go.
choose your own adventure page turner and it's all going to be okay.
Live your life like it's a choose your own adventure
Yeah.
page turner and know that it's all going to be okay.
Yeah.
What a great quote. We're going to have to pull that out and highlight that in the notes. That is such a great way of living. Now, I think that in and of itself might be a cure for overwhelm. If I lived my life like a choose my own adventure page turner, they didn't have time to be overwhelmed.
Exactly.
Now, when we're in a page turner, there's no
Right.
time to be overwhelmed. There's only time to take action, move forward. And I loved
Right.
with all your heart.
Right.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay. So I'm going to encourage people to pop things into the chat if there's something that that they want us to discuss, but we're going to take a slight maybe pivot. But first, you get to decide, because one direction is, this is the choose your path moment. I'm going to use this. All right. So this is the choose your path moment. One is to deep dive into any of these pieces around staying out of overwhelm. The other is to go ahead and take us into the seven. And so I know that you have this amazing gift for everyone, and I would love for them to know what's so good about it.
Thank you, Jackie. Yeah, I'd love to bring that up. So I have an ebook for everybody called The 7 Core Life Purposes. And this was divinely revealed to me. And I notice how I'm still pausing before I say that. Let me come forth with courage and assert to you, this was divinely revealed to me. I'm still
Ooh.
stepping into my, courage, you guys, as far as like sharing things that have happened to me this year, the eye-opening experiences that I've had, including this one. So I was flying on a plane and thinking about my coaching program to help people discover and live their life purpose. And this just came to me, and I started writing it down. And the more I wrote it down, and then I slept on it, and I realized, oh my goodness, the 7 purposes even align with the 7 chakras, and just this wheel, and just, oh my gosh, it just was starting to blow my mind. So in essence, the essence of this ebook is that there are really only 7 core purposes for us as humans. Now, they're umbrellas, underneath there's a lot of purposes. But why my mission is to help people discover and live their life purpose is because isn't that great? Like, we all need to definitely do that, because if we have purpose, we're not going to want to feel like leaving this earth. We're not going to want to feel like giving up. Okay. We have a mission. We know we're here to help people. I want to get that across.
Oh,
Let me
it's a
say,
life-saving way to live, to
it
have a
is.
purpose-driven life, to have a mission-driven life.
Yes.
The day that my purpose tapped me on my shoulder was a day that saved my life.
Yeah.
And there's just no grade or way to express it. That for me, suicide prevention in a nutshell could be, what if you knew you were living on purpose?
Yes.
What if
Yes.
you knew you couldn't do it wrong? Which is why I loved that expression.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So,
Exactly. And
all right.
it all ties in. Sorry. It all ties in together, because when you're living on purpose with intention, you're living in alignment with who you really are. And that allows you to hold space for and give others the courage to do that. So here's what I want to invite everyone to consider deeply in your heart, is that without you going forward and doing that, how many people are you leaving behind? How many people are you failing? I don't want to use the word fail. How many people are you not coming forth to empower to do that for
How many people
themselves?
are missing out?
Yeah. Yeah. And we all have a purpose. And I see, this generation, Gen Z, and now we have another generation coming up that's been born since 2015. But today's youth, I know that I'm talking to Generation Z. I blogged about them professionally for a year. And I know you guys really well. I know that you are possibly, from birth, the most purpose-driven generation we have ever had on this planet. I
Okay, so
see
for
you
those of us
all.
that are parents, what age group, what birth
Yeah.
years are you talking about for Generation Z?
1995 to 2014, 2015. So
Okay,
the generation gaps we talk about, millennials, Gen Z, Gen X, boomers, is generally about 20 to 30 years every
okay. So
slot. But
we've
yeah.
we've got 95 to 14, so
Hmm.
roughly 20 years,
Yeah.
19 years.
Yeah.
The people born in that age are the most purpose-driven people.
That possibly, I mean, that's what I've
Yeah,
seen. Like,
great.
yeah, I would say that, really, because like I see them since was blogging about this in 2014, 15. I see them like stepping forward to steward the planet. I see them giving of themselves in so many ways. I see them giving up a lot of the conventions that really held down my generation in our youth, like the drugs, the smoking, the drinking. There's a lot less of that now, but there also is a lot more depression. among this generation. This was before 2020 and all, everything that's gone on this year. There was a lot more depression in this generation. And I liken that to it being more pressure on them. They were pumped up in the news early on. It's like, oh, this is the generation that'll save us. I mean, it was literally like people my age or, and older were writing like, oh, we messed up the earth and now they're here to save it. Like I was
Whoa, no
blown
pressure at
away
all.
by some of the pressure that was being put on these young people. And like, rather than put the pressure, I want to invite you to your greatness. Okay. You don't need to save the planet. Me and a lot of people in my generation and other generations are hard at work on that right next to you. You don't have to save the planet. Just save yourself. Okay. Save yourself. Be authentically you. Come from a place of love. Understand your purpose. And that's all we need. That's it. Yeah.
All right. So and we can go ahead and put the link in the chat, and so people can grab your ebook and share it with others. So if you've got some Generation Zs, giving them a chance to understand the 7 core purposes that, as Robin's view of the world as divinely get downloaded by her, this ability to start to see themselves as being a purposeful human being. That's life-saving at any age. I mean, full disclosure, this is 2020. My purpose tapped me on my shoulder in my 61st year of the planet.
Yeah.
It's not something that necessarily comes easily or early, but if we can help people find their purpose a little more easily, a little earlier, what a gift it will be to all of us.
Yes. And I'm not here to wave my magic fairy wand and say, this is your purpose in life. I'm putting forward, because it's not my place. It's your place to discover that for yourself. And only you can know that for yourself. But as my ebook kind of walks you through, these 7 core life purposes are available to all of us. And we don't have to just stick to one. We may have been born, we were born with this timeline of these, messages and these purposes and these amazing things we're going to do and be, but we are free to change our purpose throughout our life. And my goal, as I kind of stated in the ebook, is not my goal. I think the goal is to try to serve all 7, whether in this lifetime or another. And you don't have to agree with me necessarily about, living multiple lifetimes. That's okay if you don't. But even if you're just living this lifetime, that that's real for you, and I honor that. And if you're just in this lifetime, what can you do with that? What can you do with your purposes? And that book's going to give you some ideas, I think.
Awesome. So that is the book, the ebook, and the link is in the chat. And I accidentally tested it, and all of a sudden my screen went crazy, and that was like, oops, sorry. In case you're wondering what that was me going, oops. And it happens, especially on a live show. So there's the link again to the ebook from Robin. It'll be in the show notes. If you're listening to this podcast, we have taken a journey with Robin O'Donovan out of overwhelm and into a purpose-driven life. And it has been a wonderful venture. Robin, I just can't thank you enough for taking the time and coming on the show, because it is such a message of joy to imagine. And this is all just building on each other today, because it's a divinely inspired order of speakers. And so this building momentum of it's safe, it's okay to dream, and there are ways and things you can do that will help you achieve your dream without having to walk through the valley of the shadow of overwhelm.
Yes.
Which is the valley, this is the valley that almost all, and I'm an entrepreneur, so I speak that language. I'm a parent. I was a single parent. All of these different labels, and I will tell you, each one of them had their own valley of overwhelm.
Yes. Oh, yes. You're right.
So thank you for hanging in with us today and sharing your path out of the valley.
Thank you so much, Jackie, for all that you do. Thank you for this wonderful opportunity to let me speak to your audience. And thank you, everyone who's watching. Thank you for being born. Thank you for being here now. Thank you for being you. Thank you for having the courage to step into who you are, no matter who you are, what age you are listening today. Thank you.